Hey everyone, welcome to a very depressing Week 7 of Brad Carroll's Game Day. I'm Brad, he's Anthony, and I want everyone to forget the jokes I've made about my party here about mojo and upset hexes, because my week trumped all those moments of hilarity. I went 0-7 against the spread last week in an embarrassing display. Whoa, and 7.
I kind of want to feel bad for you, but I really don't. I can't seem to stop smiling. I mean, I didn't have a great week last week either, but sure as heck was better than yours, and I gave you 2 upsets, Michigan State and Florida State, so I feel pretty good.
You should. The only bright side is that I'm still 5 games over 500 on the show, but it's hard to look at the bright side at this moment.
I feel like you need a pat on the back, so I'm here to provide it for you. Things will turn around, and if they don't, we're here to laugh at you, so it's okay.
Yeah, compared to me, Anthony looked like a genius last week, pulling in a 3-4 record. The third member of our crew, Craig Carroll, was 2-5, so it was a tough week all around. Luckily, there's a whole lot of season left to be played.
There's a whole lot of season left to be played, a whole lot of games left to predict, and a whole lot of chances for us to look smarter or not so smart, so we'll see what happens.
Yeah, there was just so much bad last week, I don't even know where to start. Alabama, Michigan, Arizona, and Miami came up lame with embarrassing losses. South Carolina, Michigan State, and Florida State, on the other hand, picked up huge victories that set each program up for success this year and for years to come.
Yeah, they did most impressively with South Carolina, who beat Alabama. It wasn't a fluke at all. They outplayed them the entire game. Big win for them. We'll see if they can carry that momentum.
Yeah, despite its victory over Florida, let me say this about LSU. They are the most embarrassing undefeated team in the nation. Les Miles is a joke of a head coach, almost as big of a joke as my 0-7 record last week. This guy just shouldn't be coaching a major program like this. At the least, he should take a coaching 101 class at LSU. It might help.
I know you're not a Les Miles fan, and I'm not, on his bandwagon either, but more often than not, he wins the primetime games, he wins the close games, so he's doing something right, even if it looks like he's doing it all wrong.
Yeah, he's doing something right. All right, let's put last week behind us and move on with a brand new slate of games. 7 games, 7 picks. Here
We're not even going to get into our picks.
No, we're not.
Interrupted right away.
Craig Carroll has decided to get this statement going right off the bat.
He's left it right here for us on the table. Here it is.
Here we go. Craig Carroll's statement. I'm going to read it right now. Wow. 0-7 for the week, Brad. Man, oh man, is that embarrassing. Really, how could you even show your face here after that? I agree.
Could be harsher, actually.
Anthony went 3-4 last week and is probably happy with that result and will say he has his mojo back.
I'm not going to say that, but yeah, I am happy. Some of those results you couldn't have predicted.
I think every time this year where he said he was a firm believer in a team, that team is lost, just as Arizona did this past week. Is it mojo or is he just a curse?
If he's insinuating I have a hex, I disagree.
For me, a 2-5 record stinks, but on the bright side, it did take over first place overall, so not too bad. On to my picks. Nebraska giving 9.5, Iowa giving 3.5, Florida State giving 21.5, South Carolina giving 5.5, Alabama giving 21, Auburn giving 3.5. And for my game of the week, Ohio State goes into Camp Randall to battle Wisconsin. OSU has just 2 tough games, Wisconsin and Iowa standing in its way to get to the BCS title game. OSU won't lose this one as they win and cover 31-24.
Well, I guess he feels pretty strongly about Ohio State. I'm going to put aside normal analysis here where we talk about the players and stats and all that kind of stuff. I just have a feeling about Wisconsin. They don't have that wow factor like Ohio State does, but I think they're going to get the job done. This is the time of year when we see conference games where undefeated teams start to go down. See Alabama last week. I think another one goes down. This one, look for a thriller. Wisconsin 21-20.
Wow. Wisconsin is one tough to play even for the number 1 ranked team in the country. Ohio State hasn't beaten anyone of merit this season, so this game could be a quick wake-up call for the Buckeyes. Can they handle the adversity? I say Ohio State does, but the Badgers are going to make it interesting and stick around until the final whistle. Ohio State 27, Wisconsin 24. Next up is a big matchup in the Big 12 as Texas visits number 5 Nebraska as 9.5-point favorites. We all know about Texas and its struggles this season, but not much is said or written about Nebraska. But the bottom line is the Cornhuskers have positioned themselves for a run in a national championship. If that is to continue, though, Nebraska needs a convincing win today on national television.
Yeah, the Cornhuskers have quietly worked their way into the top 5. Taylor Martinez, their quarterback, may be the most dynamic quarterback outside of Denard Robinson at Michigan, but not a lot of people have gotten a chance to see him play, mostly because Nebraska hasn't played a lot of big games. That's about to change this week. Texas isn't the usual Texas. They've lost 2 in a row, and I'm kind of leery of thinking they'll lose 3 in a row. You just don't think Texas would do that, but Nebraska's on a roll, and I just don't see them being stopped by Texas. 30-23, Nebraska gets it done at home.
Yeah, with a dominating running game and defense, and the play of redshirt freshman quarterback Taylor Martinez, the Cornhuskers have everything going for them. Add in the revenge factor from a loss to the Longhorns a year ago, and Nebraska should roll to victory. Nebraska 35, Texas 17. The suddenly on top of the world South Carolina Gamecocks travel to Kentucky Saturday night as 5.5-point favorites. The 10th-ranked Gamecocks beat number 1 Alabama last week, so a letdown is a definite possibility against the Wildcats.
Yeah, can you say trap game? Kentucky pushed Auburn to the brink last week after falling behind, so they can play with good teams. But South Carolina, they got to watch out. I think they'll be okay. But Steve Spurrier kind of said it immediately after beating Alabama. We have to continue to play well, or in the SEC, you'll lose, even against Kentucky. I think South Carolina keeps the momentum going, 35-27.
Yeah, the question here is whether or not the South Carolina offense, which finally played like a Steve Spurrier-coached unit against Alabama, can continue its momentum. Against Kentucky, the Gamecocks will have every opportunity to do just that, and they will. South Carolina 38, Kentucky 24. Number 16, Florida State, another team coming off a big victory, hosts Boston College as 21.5-point favorites Saturday afternoon. The Seminoles, a team that got routed by Oklahoma earlier this season, did a complete 180 and beat Miami last week to gain some much-needed momentum against the Eagles. Why? Because FSU quarterback Christian Ponder has never beaten Boston College in his career. Does that change?
Yes, it does. Christian Ponder is on pace for 20 touchdowns passing this season. Expect another big game from him. The Seminoles are rolling after their trouncing of Miami. The Eagles, they're struggling. They're struggling to score points. They're giving up too many points. It's not a good recipe. Florida State, easily 38-13.
Boston College has lost 3 straight games, its longest losing streak since 1998. And that streak will grow to 4 as Saturday as Florida State wins. But the Eagles won't go down without a reasonable fight. Florida State 41, Boston College 28. Number 8, Alabama gets its chance to bounce back from its shocking loss to South Carolina as it hosts Ole Miss Saturday night as 21-point favorites. We all know the storyline here. Can the Tide bounce back and regain the form it had when it ruled college football for a year and a half?
Yeah, they can bounce back. You think for any minute that Alabama is going to lose 2 games in a row with their talent under Coach Nick Saban? Because I don't. If you do, I think you're a little crazy. Alabama is welcoming an Ole Miss team that's just not that great. It's the SEC, it's a conference, nobody's intimidated, but Alabama should roll in this game. They should make a statement. Ole Miss selected a new mascot this week. The Black Bear will be on the sidelines, but he won't be doing much celebrating. Alabama 40-10.
Yeah, Ole Miss has lost 8 straight meetings in Alabama, so don't expect that losing streak to end. Alabama, mainly because of the opponent, will bounce back in a big way with a big victory over the outmatched Rebels. Alabama 52, Ole Miss 20. The only thing more disappointing than my 0-7 record last week was the play of the Michigan Wolverines, and they host number 15 Iowa today as 3.5-point favorites. Michigan couldn't keep its magical run through an early part of its schedule going and fell hard at home to Michigan State. Now, an even better opponent comes into the big house in Iowa.
You got that right. An even better opponent, and Michigan's not going to start beating those better opponents until they figure it out on defense. They didn't have any answers for Michigan State, and Denard Robinson, I know how great he's been, and I'm sure he'll continue to have a great season, but going into the conference, more games he has under his belt, people get a chance to study film and figure out a way to shut him down. Michigan State did the best job of anyone last week. Iowa has an even better defense than Michigan State. They're going to win this game 28-20.
Yeah, I hate going against the Wolverines, but I just don't like the matchup against a very talented Iowa squad. Michigan quarterback Denard Robinson was held in check last week, and Iowa most likely will do the same. So Iowa wins the game. Iowa 32, Michigan 24. Finally, we have a big SEC matchup as number 12 Arkansas travels to take on number 7 Auburn as 3.5-point underdogs. This is a matchup of big-time quarterbacks as Arkansas boasts Ryan Mallett and Auburn has Cam Newton. Mallett was an early season favorite for the Heisman Trophy until his meltdown against Alabama. Newton may make a run of his own for the Heisman as he leads the SEC in rushing and is 4th in the country in quarterback rating. This has all the makings of a high-scoring affair.
Yeah, it does. You know, we talked about a lot of great games already on the show, but this is my most intriguing matchup of the week. Two quarterbacks, as you mentioned, that have been invaluable to their teams and the success they've had. Mallett, however, is looking for redemption because his last big game against Alabama, he fell apart at the end, and that's the big reason why Arkansas lost that game. Auburn's battle-tested. They've played a lot of close games, but they blew a lead last week against Kentucky before rebounding to win that game. I don't like that heading into this game. You know, you got a team way up on them, you want to put them away. I think Arkansas is going to go in and get that big victory it was looking for earlier in the season, 27-24. Another undefeated goes down.
Wow. You know, this game will be won by the team with the biggest playmaker, and that is Cam Newton of Auburn. The Tigers continue their undefeated run through the early part of the season with another big victory. Auburn, 28, Arkansas, 20. With that, we wrap up another edition of Brad Carroll's Game Day. Be sure to check out the print version every Saturday on the pages of the Bristol Press and New Britain Herald, on my blog at bradcarrollgameday.blogspot.com, and don't forget College Game Day Rewind exclusively on my blog. For Anthony, I'm Brad. We'll see you next week.